and welcome to Season 4, Episode 9 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Lucha Underground history with match number 42 on our list, which is the finals of the Cueto Cup tournament between Prince Puma and Pentagon Dark from the August 23rd, 2017 edition of Lucha Underground, appropriately titled the Cueto Cup Finals. So we've touched on it a little bit so far in this season. The Cueto Cup was essentially a 32-person tournament that Lucha Underground did to determine the number one contender to the Lucha Underground title and determine who would get the title shot in the main event of Ultima Lucha Tres. It was super effective. I've talked about that I think tournaments are something that can be used really well in televised wrestling because it makes matches seem important. It gives you the ability to do cool first-time matchups or revisit feuds without having to necessarily have a storyline purpose in there, and you can keep things fresh and exciting and use it to elevate, different wrestlers through upsets and things of that nature. So tournament was great. It lasted 10 weeks, and this was our finals. And Puma and Pentagon were two guys that, through season 1 of Lucha Underground were essentially the faces of the company, I would say. Puma being the Lucha Underground champion and Pentagon kind of being like the breakout star. At the start of season 2, they were paired together and they had a match that was ultimately underwhelming. It ended in a bit of a disputed finish where they did a double pin with Puma getting his shoulder up at the last second. It was really disappointing, and then they kind of kept these guys apart from each other, and we really never got a payoff to that match until this match here, and it definitely felt like both of these guys were out for redemption from their initial match, and they put on a really good match. There's truthfully not a lot to it storyline-wise per se as far as what's incorporated into the match. They keep it a pretty much, normal back-and-forth contest, but our story kind of behind the scenes on this one was that after Pentagon turned on Vampiro at the end of Ultima Lucha Dos by attacking him with a barbed wire baseball bat, Vampiro set his sights on Prince Puma throughout Season 3. Started to try to bring him a little bit to the dark side, ended up resurrecting him after he lost the Grave Consequences match to Mil Muertes, and we would later find out it was all kind of a ploy that Vampiro had used Puma and been with Pentagon all along, and I think the result of this match kind of hinged on when he would, uncover his master plan that he had going on. They waste no time in this match, though. There's a great sense of urgency putting over the importance of the victory and the tournament win. Puma gets a really early tope con hilo. Pentagon hits a backstabber where Puma does like a great flip bump off of it. They go back to that later on where Puma counters a second attempt out of the corner with a kick. Pentagon continues to work over that back of Puma. He counters a satellite DDT with a backbreaker, for example. Something that was really cool, though, is they did build a little bit upon each guy's previous matches in the tournament. So Puma goes for a big Phoenix Splash, which was a move that he missed in his semifinal match against Phoenix that almost ended up costing him the win. Here he goes for it, sees Pentagon move out of the way, and proceeds to roll through it. They do great stuff in and around the Pentagon driver, which is, Pentagon's version of like Matt Seidel's Here It Is driver, like the half Nelson Michinoku driver. Pentagon counters that into an arm drag, and then goes for like a springboard arm drag off the ropes, and Penta catches him like mid-move and plants him with the Pentagon driver for 2. It was a really good spot that they did there. We get Canadian Destroyer exchanges, so Pentagon hits his, he kind of does it like Panama Sunrise style, like Adam Cole style, where he jumps off the second rope and uses that momentum to take it into the move. He hits that on Puma, but Puma, the momentum sends him out to the ring apron, and before Pentagon can capitalize, Puma slingshots himself back in with a destroyer of his own, which was pretty cool. We go into a hot finish. They do a big strike exchange. It looks like Penta gets the best of it. He goes for the package pile driver, milks it just a little too much, which is kind of a typical Pentagon trope where, he plays to the crowd, does the Cero Miedo just a little bit too much, which could ultimately lead to his downfall. It almost happens here where Puma tries to catch him with the Benadryller. Doesn't quite happen, though. He manages to persevere, but we end up with a big, battle to top the top rope. Puma hits a big Hurricane Rana from there and points to Vampiro at ringside before he finishes Pentagon off with the 630. So these two would eventually lead to, despite the fact that Puma won here and would ultimately get the title shot against the Lucha Underground champion Johnny Mundo at Ultima Lucha Tres, we did see these two kind of meet again at that show. So basically what would happen is Pentagon would go on to win the Gift of the Gods title. It had been talked about, that Dario Cueto always needed a week's notice for the cash-in, so it was never really that money in the bank stipulation per se. The week before Ultima Lucha Trez's finale, it was revealed backstage that Dario was going to allow Pentagon to cash in the title. Puma beat Johnny Mundo in a match where his career was on the line to become the Lucha Underground champion once again, the first time two-time Lucha Underground champion. Pentagon, of course, would then be brought out, cashing in the Gift of the Gods. It would be a match that would turn out to be career versus career. Dario Cueto flexing his muscle against two guys he doesn't really like. And we would get the ultimate, turn of Vampiro that would show that all along he was aligned with Pentagon, and it would result in Prince Puma losing and his Lucha Underground career coming to a close, and eventually, he would return as Ricochet in the WWE, getting out of that contract that he was locked into, which was a pretty big talking point on the internet at that time. This match, though, it's nothing, completely incredible. It doesn't hit the heights of a lot of the gimmick matches we would see in Lucha Underground, but it is a really, really solid match. It's got that tournament finale feel that gives it that big match feel, and it's two guys just going out, busting their butts, having a great match, and like I said, redeeming themselves, from what was a highly anticipated match to start off season 2 that didn't quite hit a high level at all. Here they were able to go out, show their thing, and give the crowd something, super satisfying, and that's exactly what they did here. Lucha Underground, of course, you might be able to find it on the Tubi app, depending on where you live. Otherwise, a quick Google search, you should be able to find these episodes online. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.